What is going on, all you Pokemon collecting maniacs out there? This is Ryan, the PikaPikaPaPa, and here we are with another awesome data dump from TCG Player. And you all know how excited I get when we get information straight from TCG Player, one of the biggest buying and selling platforms for Pokemon cards there is. So anytime they give us a look behind the curtains, anytime they share raw data with us, I get incredibly excited. And this is one of the favorite data dumps that they do, at least for me. And one of the reasons I get so excited because it's a 1 month look. It's showing us, the cards that have climbed in price the most over a 30-day time period. And what I really like about this is these cards have to have at least 5 sales over that 30-day time period. So no single sale is going to drive this up or down. So I really like that. This also is obviously on TCG Player, all kinds of different conditions. These are near mint copies only. And what I do with it is I make sure that all of these cards had an initial value of $20 or more because, this is more of a collecting and investing channel. And not that you can't collect and invest in cards that are less than $20, but I'm kind of looking for the higher end stuff to see what has been moving on TCG Player to give me an idea of what's been moving, right? Like that is incredibly important to me. I'm always trying to understand this hobby at a more macro level, and I think this data set really helps us do that. Now, one of the things I will say about this list that I'm going to show you right now, these were the cards that were on the list last month. So these 10 cards were the cards that had moved the most in price over those 30-day periods when we looked at it last month. And I wanted to call this out because first off, this list is awesome, right? But secondly, the list this month is very, very different. It is so diverse. It's from, we have cards all the way back to the black and white era on this list, which is super exciting to me. But I wanted to show you this because look, we had 3 cards with Pokemon Center exclusive stamps on it from those ETBs. Obviously, we had the Eevee on there from Twilight Masquerade, the Charizard from 151. You got a Gengar on there from the XY era, 2 play Pokemon cards, and of course you got the Greninja. Now out of this list, only 1 card actually made the list again this month. I will give you a guess as to what it is. It is the card that everybody is talking about, so spoiler alert. Of course, it's the Greninja, and we'll talk about that in a minute. But I wanted to show the list from last month before we get into the list this month because it is really cool and it is really important to kind of frame up what we're going to talk about because this list is so incredibly different. Now, as always, before I get into the actual cards themselves, if you enjoy content like this, we do it all the time. So if you haven't hit the subscribe button yet, what are you doing? Hit that subscribe button. If you like what you see, give us a thumbs up. And if you have questions or comments, drop them down below. I appreciate you watching this more than I can possibly say. So those 3 small things go a long way in helping me out. And I just like to call that out at the beginning of the video. Now, with that out of the way, we're going to start off with an absolute stunner of a card from the Scarlet and Violet era. And that is the Bubble Mew. The Bubble Mew has just been on fire. And I know this is a month-over-month view. This is the cards that have moved the most over the last 30 days. But what I'm going to do throughout the course of this video is there's a lot of cards that have been on the move for a lot longer than 30 days, right? You look at the Bubble Mew here. Over the last 6 months, it's up 22.74%. So yes, it has had a really strong last 30 days. You'll see that in July, it kind of bottomed out there and it's shot back up. But for me, the overall, the biggest takeaway from this is yes, it hit a low point, but look how quickly it rebounded. And if you look at it over the last 6 months, this card has just been a stunner. It is over $90. And when I talk about how much I love Paldean Fates, which I have said ad nauseum on this channel, I love the Charizard. The Charizard has held a ton of its value there at the very top, and this Bubble Mew keeps working its way on up. 2 big cards at the very top has the opportunity to really drive Paldean Fates, I think, for some long-term success. So again, I love my Pokemon Center exclusive ETBs that I have for Paldean Fates. I am going to hold on to them, and I hope they're going to give me some opportunity for some really cool returns, and I hope this Bubble Mew plays a big part in driving that. The next card, again, I talked about this card on our movers and shakers list a couple weeks ago, so when I saw it come up again, I was so incredibly excited. Team Aqua's Kyogre from Double Crisis, just an absolute stunner of a card, and this card has been on a tear really for the last year. However, if you just look at the last 3 months, this card is up 31.09%. Just an incredible run from a fantastic card. A great example, some of the older cards with some fantastic art that have been flying under the radar, and the market is starting to kind of pick up on that, right? When we looked at the XY top 20 singles cards over the last 7 months, they have been growing month over month over month over month. A really unloved, underappreciated era like XY is finally starting to get some traction. Same thing for Sun and Moon, right? Like we saw Sun and Moon spike in the middle of 2023. We saw it subsequently come down over the course of 4, 5, 6 months, and now we're starting to see those Sun and Moon singles picking back up. So one of the things I love about this channel is identifying these trends early on, and I think that this card is just an absolute amazing piece of Pokemon artwork and an amazing piece of Pokemon history. So really excited to see it on the list and climbing in price. Next one right here. Really cool to see a card like this on here. This is from Heart Gold Sold Silver, right? This is a Play Pokemon stamped energy card, and I almost didn't include it because when I looked at it from the 1 month view, you see that really aggressive spike over the last month, and I thought, I know it's sold 5 times, I know it checks all the criteria, but it's an energy card. Like, maybe it just saw this irrational spike over the last month. But then when I blew it out to the 1 year price graph, I mean, look at this thing. It is really, since March of 2024, it has been climbing like no tomorrow. It was in the low $20. Now it's all the way up to $40. So I had to include it on the list. And again, just another example of an older card that has suddenly caught fire. It's been selling. People have been enjoying it and they're adding it to their decks, I'm sure. Just a really cool card right here from this Heart Gold Soul Silver era. And I had to include it on here. The next card right here, Pikachu and Zekrom GX. This is a Black Star promo from the Sun and Moon space, and another one that I wanted to call out, not just where it has been in the last month. If you look, last month, obviously, it hit a low, not a low, but it hit a dip, and then it immediately spiked back up. I really enjoy seeing that. So when I blew it out to the year, you'll see that in about November of 2023, it hit its 1 year low. And yes, it's had some ups and downs along the way, but if you were to trend line this card out, this card has had amazing growth, going from $20 all the way up to $29. So I mean, we're talking about really a 50% gain from November of 2023 till now. Not the biggest card you're ever going to find. Again, we're talking about a sub $30 card, but the market sure does seem to love it, and is just another one of those Sun and Moon cards that has been showing a whole lot of promise and a whole lot of growth here over the last really 6 months, if you will. So super cool card. You know I love Pikachu. Super excited to see this on the list, and I do think this is a quality card. Black Star promos have a tendency to be really hard to get in high grade, which I think is going to help grow the opportunity for this card to grow in value over time. Now, the next card right here is another promo. This one's from the XY era. This is like a promo palooza on the list this month, but this is the Charizard EX, the XY121, and this card has been on fire all of the year. Now, I just did a 3-month graph because over the last 3 months, it's been increasingly hot, sitting there at plus 38%. But again, this is a Charizard. This is from a $300 sealed box, and this card was selling at the $35 mark, and earlier in the year far below that. So again, nobody's going to be cracking that box in order to try and pull this card. I take that back. Not nobody. Very, very few people are going to be cracking that box and pulling this card out and sending it in to get graded or selling it on the secondary market. For the most part, when you have a $300 sealed box that has 4 packs and 1 promo in it, I have a feeling that those are going to stay sealed for the long run. So the overall population of this card, I don't think is going to increase greatly over time, and I think that's why it's all the way up to the $50 mark. Charizard card from an epic set, from an epic era. I just think this card has done really well, and it's really exciting to see this one pop off like that. Next one right here, I was thrilled when I saw this on the list. I remember when these Unagaba cards came out, and honestly, we do a PSA video every single month. Well, it's more of a grading card video. We look at the top grading companies, PSA, SGC, CGC, and Beckett, and we look at the grading volume by sets and cards and all kinds of stuff. Matter of fact, that's coming out here really soon if it hasn't already by the time you watch this. But these Unagaba cards just absolutely flooded the grading space the month after they came out, and they kind of fell off for a little bit. They kind of fell down. Prices were cheap, but look at what this has done over the last 3 months. This Eevee card is up 66% over the last 3 months. Again, another card that has had a really strong 1 month, but blowing it out even further. It's not a 1 month anomaly. This card has just been performing really, really well. So I love to see this card on the list. Eevee is super hot right now. All the Eeveelutions are doing really well. So really cool to see this card. And again, 66% over the last 3 months. Absolutely fantastic. Now, next one right here, I told you we had a card from the black and white era, and here it is right now, the full art Zekrom. And again, another card where just looking at the last month, look at the far right. Yes, it has spiked aggressively, but that doesn't give the value of this card and the overall momentum of this card justice. So I blew it out to the 1 year graph. It is up 42.7% over the last year. A great card from an amazing era. You know, I do think black and white does get a little bit overlooked. It's funny. There's kind of these middle eras, right? And I think that's kind of from Sun and Moon forward. And then, I don't know, you know, I'd have to think about where it actually begins, but some of these black and white era cards, I just feel like, just like the same thing with X and Y. I felt XY was flying under the radar. I think some of the black and white era cards are flying under the radar. They're kind of this middle eras, which is kind of the forgotten about era of Pokemon. And really cool to see some of these cards starting to pop off like this one. Again, up 42.7% over the last year. Crazy gains, and super excited to see such a diverse list, including cards from the black and white era. Next one right here, we're back to Ultra Modern, and this is the Prime Catcher card right right here. Now, Prime Catcher, ultra playable, ace specs. Those of you who are big into the game know far more about it and the reason it's spiking up than I do. But what I thought was interesting about this one is over the last 6 months, it has really been on a downward trend, right? All the way through August, it was on a downward trend, but then I'm assuming it found a very valuable place in a very awesome deck. So what happens? It spikes up because everybody starts building that deck. They want to play it. Worlds happened recently. And so that's what you see. This card popped up, Prime Catcher. I actually like ace specs. I wish that there was a little bit more collectability to them because I think they're stunning. I love the colors. I love everything about them, but they just don't have a place in my collection because I'm a collector/investor, not a game player, but still love calling these cards out that have such a big impact on the overall game. That's what I wanted to show too, is over the last month, this is it. I knew I had a slide where I went directly into it. So as you can see over the last month is where this card has really started to take off, right? So you'll see from 8.10 all the way till now, up 11.46%, almost up 11.5%. So really excited to see Prime Catcher doing what it was doing. And as you can tell, I totally forgot that I had that animation on here. Nice recovery, PikaPikaPaPa. So then we have the Charmander card from 151. Again, we have looked at 151 cards for, well, really ever since it came out because 151 is 151, and out of all of the sets, the 151 cards are the ones that are super choppy. They have these ups and downs and ups and downs. They seem to have really set resistance lines and really set support lines, and they just kind of bobble back and forth between those for a while. But this Charmander over the last 3 months seems to have found its way to kind of break into the upper end of that resistance line. So is it going to end up being a $35, $40 card? We're going to have to wait and see. Obviously, they're restocking some of these products, so we'll see what the long-term implication is of that. But over the last 3 months, this card is up 20%, up to $31.50. And I absolutely love this card. I love the whole Charmander lineup in 151. 151 is just an epic set of the era. In my mind, even if there is, say, a subsequent reprint after this restock, even if there is more of this product brought into the market, I still think 151 is destined for greatness no matter what. Just too cool of cards, too cool a set, and I think that no matter what, it's going to do really well. Next one right here, and the final one on the list is the one that I teased in the very beginning of the video, and guess what? The Greninja is yet again on the card list for cards that have grown in price the most, and I don't know what I can say about this card that I haven't already said. I'm just going to summarize it by saying it is incredibly exciting to me that the Pokemon hobby and the investors and collectors out there are willing to spend $300 on an ultra-modern raw card. Is that going to be a good investment? Is it going to be a bad investment? I have no earthly idea. Is this going to be a new trend for some of the big chase cards that come out in these next sets in Scarlet and Violet? I have no idea. Is this something that I am literally looking at every single day? You bet your darn butt I am, because I think this is fascinating. I think this is an incredible data point, something worth monitoring, and I just can't wait to see where this Greninja card and Twilight Masquerade as a whole shakes up in the long run. So now that we're at the very end of the video, I've got to say it one more time. If you thought this was fun, we do it every single month, so hit that subscribe button so you see it every time. And if you like what you see, give us a thumbs up. And if you have questions or comments, drop them down below. I appreciate you all so much. I hope you have an epic one, and I'll talk to you soon. See you later, everybody. Bye.